jaw. Do you remember that movie, The Ring, right? When everyone, after they would die, right after 7 days, they would find the bodies and their faces look all like, like, it was like the face of fear, right? Frozen in fear face. Well, that ties into today's video, kind of. You see, today is Spooky Saturday. So basically, like every other Saturday, I'll tell stories, urban legends, or haunted places, or stuff about the normal that's very para, if you know what I mean. Who's this? I'm already gay. I don't need to keep doing this. So I was playing a video game that one of you lovely people purchased for me off of my wish list called Man of Medan. It's one of those games in the style of, The Quarry, or like those Walking Dead games where it's basically like every choice matters kind of thing. But anyway, and so as I'm playing the game, like I do with every movie, TV show, and video game I play, I go straight to IMDb and, like a lot of us do, live in the trivia section. And so as I'm looking at the trivia for this random game from a few years back, it mentioned that the game was based on a true story. Maybe. It's really more of an urban legend, unconfirmed true story. And it is the story of the SS Ourang Medan. The problem with this story, in terms of trying to see if it's valid or not, is it has many, many different retellings. It's believed that the origin of this story started sometime in like the early 1940s. The word orang is Indonesian for the word man. And then Medan is, I guess, a city, near an Indonesian island called Sumatra. So translating to, Man of Medan, hence the name of that video game. So the first story that ever was published about this said that the Ourang Medan was found by another vessel. This vessel had picked up some kind of SOS in the form of Morse code. The signal was coming from somewhere near the Straits of Malacca. The first story kind of refers to the Ourang Medan as a Dutch merchant vessel. The Morse code SOS they got said this: SOS from Ourang Medan. We float. All officers, including the captain, are dead. They're dead in the chart room and on the bridge. Probably whole of crew dead. And then the Morse code message ends with kind of like several of incoherent, beeps and boops. And then the last part was translated to, I die. And that's how the message ends. So, when this vessel gets to the location of the Ourang Medan, they see it. She's floating in the middle of the waters, motionless. An eerie silence sort of just beckons from the hull of the ship. You can hear a pin drop. The would-be rescue vessel kind of, pulls up close to the Ourang Medan, and then they begin to board the Ourang Medan. The ship itself, on the outside, completely undamaged. It hasn't been fired upon. It hasn't hit anything. There is no damage whatsoever. It looks to be in pristine condition. That same thing could not be said for those on board. Once they got on deck, they found body after body after body after body. Every single body was laying on their back, staring straight up with a look, as they described it, a look of fear frozen on their faces. All of them. As if the very last thing that these people saw was the most terrifying thing imaginable. Some said that these corpses appeared to be almost not even human, almost as if they were clay or mannequins, but they were human. They just didn't look that way. But then oddly enough, as they looked through every single body, none of them had any external injuries. None of them had gunshot wounds. None of them had blood around them. None of them appeared to be stabbed. There was no signs of beatings. They were all just dead and frozen in fear. So the crew of the vessel decides to get off the ship, and then they're going to tow the Ourang Medan to a nearby port. As they are tying up the ship, they notice a fire has broken out on the Ourang Medan. And then suddenly, there is an explosion from within the ship, the Ourang Medan. This apparently originated in the number 4 cargo hold. So all of the rescue people who were still on board managed to get off the ship, and then the Ourang Medan sank to the bottom of the ocean. Other stories about the Ourang Medan are pretty similar in nature. Really, the only difference is the differences between all the stories that were told about it have a different origin time frame, like it was found in 1947 or the early 1950s. But most of the stories say that the Ourang Medan was in the Strait of Malacca, and most of the stories say that the ship was littered with corpses. Some people described the corpses a little bit differently. Some say the corpses had their full teeth showing like a smile almost, and their eyes wide open. Not really necessarily a face of fear, just a very unsettling face. There has been apparently a couple of versions of the story of the Ourang Medan that says that there were no bodies whatsoever on the ship, that when it was found, everyone was gone, and that this was a literal ghost ship, that there was just nothing. Everyone was gone, but were still no signs of any damage, of anything to indicate why they would all suddenly be gone, and why the SOS message. Another story is told from a supposed survivor named Jerry Rabbit, which totally sounds like a real name. Jerry Rabbit says that he had managed to escape the Ourang Medan on a lifeboat with 6 other men. When the lifeboat he was on washed up on the shores of Marshall Islands, he was the only one left alive. He said that he, along with several other passengers, boarded the Ourang Medan near Shanghai. And on the vessel were some suspect cargo, specifically 15,000 crates of suspicious cargo. And it had been loaded off somewhere in the middle of the ship's journey. Jerry Rabbit says he began to put it together that this was a smuggling ship. This wasn't your ordinary merchant vessel. They were smuggling goods. What kind of goods? Possibly drugs. So Jerry and the people who boarded with him near Shanghai, they were eating food on the ship, and they all started to suddenly get stomach aches. And he said when they started to complain about it, one of his friends who boarded with him, well, he died mysteriously. So this made him very curious, and he crept up and found the ship's logbook. The logbook stated that there were crates that had sulfuric acid, potassium cyanide, and nitroglycerin. What he came to the conclusion is that he thinks that one of these chemicals that were being smuggled on the ship had somehow leaked from several of the crates, and that the gases from those kind of began to slowly go throughout the ship, which is actually what was causing people to get sick. Jerry says this is when crewman after crewman after crewman began to just start falling dead, and a lot of them were starting to have what he thought were like hallucinations, that they were seeing things that weren't there, that everyone was terrified of something that was on this ship all of a sudden. Could they have been high out of their minds? So that's when Jerry and 6 other men decided to jump ship, literally, steal one of the lifeboats and get away as fast as they can. But somehow all 6 of the people he left with died. And then he, shortly after telling his story, also died. So here's the problem. Once the story began to circulate, the people needed to look into this, because we're talking a mass death somewhere in the middle of the ocean, and now there's a ship somewhere at the bottom of the ocean. So people who were looking into this in the 50s, they found no records whatsoever of a ship called the SS Ourang Medan. This ship did not exist. No ship called the Ourang Medan was in any record books at all. And there were no official records of this ship sinking. They would search in this area where these people said the ship had blown up and then sank, but they allegedly never found anything. But they also don't know exactly precisely where it sank. But then, if the story is true about the ship carrying not so legal goods, if they were smuggling these things, I should say, it is very possible that there would be no record of the Ourang Medan. These are not substances that they wanted people to know they were carrying. And while it wasn't common to have these sort of ships kind of not be processed and go through all the official records and all that, it wasn't common, but it did happen. So it's possible the Ourang Medan did exist, but someone went through great lengths to make sure it never had any records. But then you have stories from several people claiming to be witnesses to this event, and a potential survivor claiming about this event. And while the locations of where this event took place kind of changed subtly throughout different tellings of the story, and while the state of the crewmen's bodies did seem to also change kind of a little bit subtly throughout the tellings of the stories, the main focus pretty much stayed the same, always. That a ship somewhere in that area of the Strait of Malacca sent out an SOS, some creepy SOS that the crew was dying. Then a vessel comes across the ship, finds bodies on the ship, all looking like they've just seen the most terrifying thing ever, and they were all dead, and then the ship blows up and sinks. The meat of the story is consistent throughout the tellings, but the details of the story, they change. The fact that there has been no recovery of the ship is a pretty telling aspect, because that'll tell you right there. If you found the boat, if you found the ship, then there's your answer. The ship existed. But if you haven't found the ship in the... I know the area is probably pretty large, but if you haven't found that ship anywhere, then does it even happen? Is it even real? So, the story of the SS Ourang Medan really has just gone down as an urban legend. It would go on to inspire movies like Ghost Ship, a terrible movie. It would go on to inspire the video game Man of Medan. Maybe the ship was in some kind of time travel situation, right? Remember that episode of The X-Files, fellow nerds? The episode Triangle, right? When Mulder was on the World War II ship, but in the past, and then Scully was looking for him, but on the abandoned ghost ship version of that same ship. Remember that episode? Brilliant, one of the best ever done. Kind of reminds me of that, so maybe it was aliens. Maybe aliens zapped them all, and that's why they look so like... Maybe. Who knows? Maybe the story's full of shit. Maybe it never happened. Or maybe there's a ghost sitting behind you right now. I don't know why there would be. That has nothing to do with the story, really. I didn't really talk about ghosts, right? So oh my god, I'm not joking this time. There's a man under your bed. You're not. Oh god. Check on your bed. Just kidding. I'm not actually kidding. There really is like a murderer under their beds. Yeah, ghosts and shit. Hey! So what do you think? Do you think the SS Ourang Medan is a true story? Or is it merely a fiction? Oh really? That's what you guys think? You think that? Okay, cool. No, you're wrong, but that's fine. Maybe you are on a ship right now and you don't know it. Maybe you're suspended in animation or whatever that phrase is. Maybe I'm not really here. Maybe I died on the SS Ourang Medan, and you're seeing me as a figment of your... This isn't making any sense. Or is it? Oh my god, I'm a sailor. Oh my god, I'm a sailor. Hey, how you doing? What? Oh, this is quickly becoming unhinged. Anyway... Arrgh, true crimerers, that be the end of this tale. Go wash your skivvies and eat your gold doubloons or something. Arrgh, arrgh, arrgh. It's not even pirate time. I don't even know why. The 40s? Come on. Pirates didn't exist in the 40s. Stupid. Ow. Fudge. But that is it for this kind of spooky tale. I mean, not really. Not really. Anyway, I'll be back with another one next Saturday, but in the meantime, I'll have true crime videos for you, so suck it up, buttercups, and deal with it. I don't know why I'm always so insulting to you guys at the end. You thought I was buffering, didn't you? You thought I was... You idiots!